There is a shield that no enemy can pierce. There is a wall that no wicked plan can climb. That shield, that wall, that fortress is God. While people may be scheming behind your back, while some may smile at your face and curse you in their hearts, God is not blind. God sees every intention, every motive, every hidden hand behind your pain, and He will deal with it in His time, in His way, with a power and justice no man can stop. You see, many of you have been wounded by people you trusted. You gave them your love, your loyalty, your kindness, and they repaid you with lies, deceit, and treachery. Some of them were friends, some were family, some even claimed to be spiritual, but behind their eyes was darkness, behind their words was poison, and you asked yourself, why would God allow this to happen? But hear this, beloved. God never promised that evil people wouldn't come near you. He promised that they wouldn't destroy you. God does not always remove the snake before it slithers into your camp. Sometimes He lets it draw close so you can learn to depend on Him more than on man, so you can learn to discern, so you can learn to pray, not just to be delivered, but to be sharpened. Because when God protects you, He doesn't just block the attack. He builds your strength. He trains your spirit. He deepens your faith. He teaches you how to walk through fire and come out untouched by the flood. And while the enemy whispers that you're surrounded, that you're outnumbered, that you're helpless, God is standing like a roaring flame around you, declaring to the darkness, touch not my servant. Evil people can mock you, accuse you, lie about you, but they cannot stop the favor God has put on your life. They cannot block the blessings that God has written into your destiny. They cannot erase what God has commanded to rise. Some of you have cried in the night begging for understanding. Some of you have asked, why do they hate me when I've done them no wrong? But that's because they don't hate you. They hate the light of God in you. The presence of God upon you exposes the darkness in them. Your peace offends their chaos. Your purity disturbs their corruption. Your rising convicts their falling. And so, instead of repenting, they seek to silence the voice that reminds them of their wickedness. But hear this, God will not allow them to silence you. When God protects you, He doesn't need to raise His voice. He doesn't need an army. He simply allows their traps to turn against them. He lets their gossip fall flat. He lets their lies rot in the mouths of those who speak them. And while they are busy digging graves for you, God is building a throne for you to stand on. While they scheme in darkness, God is preparing a table in their presence. Not behind closed doors, not in secret, but in the open, where all will see that the one they mocked has been favored by the Almighty. You don't have to fight them with your words. You don't have to stoop to their level. You don't have to prove yourself innocent to those determined to misunderstand you. All you need to do is remain under the covering of God. Stay in His light. Stay obedient to His ways. Because the moment you step out trying to fight in your own strength, you step away from His protection. But when you stay still and trust Him, when you hold your peace and let Him fight, He moves with a force no enemy can withstand. There are people who smiled at you but wished for your failure. People who clapped when you stumbled. People who called your name only to drag it through the mud. And yet God preserved you, God lifted you, God protected you, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. He is faithful, He is just, He is holy, and He will never let evil reign forever. Evil will come in every form. You must understand this. When God chooses to protect someone, no curse can land on them. No plot can prevail. No betrayal can derail the plan. They can lie, but God will reveal. They can steal, but God will restore. They can wound, but God will heal. And more than that, He will use the very attack to advance you. You see, what was meant to bury you becomes the soil that grows your next blessing. What was sent to bury you becomes the very thing that builds your unshakable faith. There's a power that rests on those who are under God's covering. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's steady, it's silent, and it's unstoppable. It moves like the wind, unseen but undeniable. God protects His own, not always by removing the enemy, but by making them powerless in your presence. He lets them speak, but no one listens. He lets them act, but their efforts fall apart. He lets them plan, but their plans turn to confusion, because the favor of God makes every weapon formed against you misfire. Some of you are in a season where everything feels like a battle. Every day a new storm. Every step a new obstacle. But I tell you today, these attacks are proof that God is elevating you. The enemy does not fight what does not threaten him. If you were going nowhere, he would leave you alone. But because you carry something divine, because you are destined for something greater, evil forces have taken notice. But greater than every force that rises against you is the power of the one who walks before you. And let me be clear, evil is not always loud. It wears masks. It comes disguised as good. It comes with charm, with charisma, with soft words and smiling eyes. But beneath the surface lies the spirit of deception. And that is why you must walk closely with God, so He can show you what your natural eyes cannot see, so He can warn you when danger wears a disguise, so He can pull you away before the poison seeps too deep. Trust His voice even when you don't understand. Trust His nudging even when it means walking away from people you once loved. You were not made to be a victim of evil. You were made to rise above it. You were made to carry light in dark places. But that means you must walk with the one who is the source of all light. Do not try to protect yourself with bitterness. Do not try to guard your heart with revenge. Let God be your defender. Let God be your shield. Because when God protects you, He protects you completely. He protects your mind from torment. He protects your name from shame. He protects your future from being stolen. He protects your peace from being shattered. He may not see it now, but God is exposing every fake friend in your life. He is removing people who were sent to distract you, delay you, or destroy you. Don't cry when they walk away. Don't mourn when doors close. Don't chase after those who rejected you. Trust that God is editing your life to make room for His protection. He is cutting ties that would have choked you. He is clearing your path of hidden snare. He is preparing a season where your spirit can breathe freely again. And while evil people may surround you, God surrounds them. While they plan, God watches, and He laughs, because their plans are dust before His wind. Their hatred is powerless against His will. Their rebellion is meaningless before His throne. And the same God who protected the prophets, who silenced lions in dens, who parted waters for the oppressed, He is still alive, still reigning, still defending those who call upon Him in truth. So rise up today, shake off the fear, stand in the light of God's power. Stop worrying about what they're saying, what they're planning, what they're trying. None of it matters when God has covered you. Their noise cannot break your peace. Their plans cannot touch your purpose. Their darkness cannot overcome your light. Because where God stands, evil flees. And God is standing with you. You were not born to be intimidated. You were born to walk in divine protection. You were not called to live in fear. You were called to walk with power. You were not chosen to fall to the enemy. You were chosen to trample him under your feet. And when God is your protector, you don't need to watch your back, because He's already there. You don't need to fight your battles, because He already has. You don't need to fear what they say, because His truth silences every lie. And I say unto you, my brothers and sisters, evil may move in silence, but God moves in sovereignty. While wicked hearts whisper their plans in the dark, God is already 10 steps ahead, shifting the atmosphere, interrupting their mission, and redirecting every dart they throw. What they think is hidden from the world is fully exposed to the eyes of God. Nothing escapes His vision. Every deceitful word, every secret plot, every smile dipped in venom, God sees it all, and in His perfect time, He answers. Do not think for one moment that God is distant when you are being attacked. God is closest to you in the moments you feel the most betrayed, when people walk away, when slander stings your name, when evil rises and justice hides. God stands at your side as a silent warrior. His silence is not absence. His stillness is not indifference. He is watching. He is measuring. He is preparing the moment of divine reversal. Evil may seem to win for a season, but God's judgment is sure. His protection is not always loud. It is enduring, invisible, and absolute. Let me tell you something that will shift your soul into power. God's protection is not always the removal of evil, but the strengthening of your spirit so that evil cannot break you. Sometimes God allows a storm to rage, not to destroy you, but to prove to the storm who you belong to. He allows the enemy to rise so that his power can be seen when the enemy falls. He allows the betrayal so that He may reveal the true foundation of your trust, not in man, but in Him alone. When God becomes your fortress, you do not need the approval of man. You do not need a crowd to validate your purpose. You do not need defenders in the flesh, because God is your advocate. He fights without lifting a hand. He vindicates without using a word. He works in realms unseen and shifts outcomes in ways no one expects. One move from God can silence years of accusation. One command from God can scatter a lifetime of opposition. One breath from God can overturn the entire agenda of evil men. You see, when God places His hand over your life, the plans of the wicked are not just stopped, they are reversed. That which was meant to humiliate you becomes the foundation of your elevation. That which was meant to isolate you becomes the reason you encounter the divine. That which was meant to crush you becomes the very pressure that forges your strength. Because God does not waste any attack. He transforms pain into purpose, confusion into clarity, and warfare into worship. You may have been targeted, but you are not defeated. You may have been slandered, but your truth remains untouched. You may have walked through a valley of evil intentions, but you are not swallowed up. Why? Because God was walking beside you, because the one who rules over the heavens and the earth had already declared that no weapon would prosper. Because His word over your life is stronger than their schemes. His favor is deeper than their hate, and His protection is thicker than their plan. Some of you are living proof that what should have destroyed you only developed you. What should have taken your peace only pushed you closer to God's presence. You thought it was a breakdown, but it was a breakthrough. You thought you were abandoned, but you were being hidden. God did not allow them to take you out, not because you were clever, but because you were chosen. You are not standing today because you were lucky. You are standing because God stood with you when no one else did. Let me speak directly to your spirit. Stop giving power to evil people by giving them your fear. Stop allowing their words to live in your mind rent-free. Stop rehearsing their betrayal, their lies, their manipulation. Let it go. Give it to God. Because the more you dwell on what they did, the more you delay what God is about to do. You are not defined by the evil done to you. You are defined by the hand of God over you. Let your enemies see that they could not break you. Let them watch as God blesses you in the very places they tried to bury you. There is a divine mystery in how God protects. Sometimes it looks like closed doors. Sometimes it looks like unanswered prayers. Sometimes it feels like isolation. But behind the scenes, God is removing what was never meant to follow you. He is cutting away every influence that would have led you off course. He is separating you from distractions. He is shielding you from traps you never even knew existed. Do not curse the rejection. Bless it. Do not fight the delay, trust it, because every divine interruption is a form of God's protection. I declare this with every fiber of my being. When God is your guardian, evil people can gather, but they cannot conquer. They can threaten, but they cannot touch what God has covered. They can rise, but they will fall by their own schemes. You are walking in a level of divine insulation that no human can penetrate. It does not matter how many gather against you, for when God surrounds you, even their numbers turn to nothing. One act of God outweighs the army of man. And if you have been feeling worn out, weary, watching the wicked thrive while you suffer, let me speak fire into your bones. This is not the end. God is not finished. Evil is not eternal. The same God who brought justice to generations past will rise for you. The same God who lifted the oppressed and brought down the mighty will move in your story. Do not look at what your enemies are doing. Look at what God is preparing. He is not just protecting your present, He is establishing your future. They mocked you, but they will witness your elevation. They underestimated you, but they will see your restoration. They spoke death, but God speaks life. And the word of God always overrides the word of man. Let them watch, let them whisper, let them wander in confusion, because God's protection is about to make you a living testimony. Not just of survival, but of victory. Not just of endurance, but of elevation. So hold your head high, walk with authority, stop shrinking because of their opinions. Stop apologizing for being chosen. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't valuable. The more you're fought, the more it proves your worth. You are not just protected by God, you are marked by Him. There is an invisible seal on your life that says this one belongs to God. And no darkness, no slander, no sabotage can remove what God has sealed. And I'll say this with every breath in me: God never abandons the innocent. Even if evil people seem to gain ground, even if injustice seems to prevail, the clock of God's judgment is ticking. And when it strikes, the wicked will be brought low and the righteous will be lifted. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. God does not forget. He does not ignore. He does not delay without reason. Every tear you've cried, every sigh you've breathed, every night you've laid awake, He has collected it all. And He will answer, not with words, but with power. You don't have to understand everything to trust God with everything. You don't need all the facts to have unshakable faith. Just know this: evil has an expiration date, but God's protection is eternal. People change, betray, and deceive, but God remains constant. He is not moved by opinions. He is not swayed by lies. His justice does not need man's approval. His protection does not need permission. And hear me now, with your spirit wide open, there comes a time in every person's journey where God does not just shield you, He separates you, not out of punishment, but out of preservation. You begin to notice people drifting, conversations growing cold, doors closing that once swung wide. Do not resist it. Do not chase what God is removing. Because when God is protecting you from evil, He often begins with separation. Not everyone can go where you are going. Not everyone who was once close was ever truly safe. Some were sent to distract, some to delay, and some to destroy. And so, God in His mercy removes them, not because you asked, but because He knows what's coming. When God protects, He doesn't simply defend you from attacks that come head on. He blocks what you didn't even know was aimed at you. the betrayal that never reached your ears, the envy that never touched your soul, the meeting where your name was slandered but fell on deaf ears, the email never sent, the plan that collapsed before it even took form. You didn't see it, you didn't feel it, but God handled it. That's the kind of protection that can't be explained, only worshiped. When God moves for you behind the veil of time, He secures victories you never even knew were battles. You must begin to understand that God's protection isn't always comfortable. Sometimes He protects you by isolating you. Sometimes He protects you by humbling you. Sometimes He even protects you by delaying what you desperately prayed for. Because He knows what you cannot know. He sees around the corners of your future. He knows the true heart of those smiling in your face. And while you beg for connection, He is building your discernment. While you long for validation, He is preparing you to walk in strength that does not bend to human approval. Don't be discouraged when you feel misunderstood, misjudged, or mistreated. That discomfort is often the sound of God positioning you for something greater. When evil people rise against you, it is not the end of your peace. It is the beginning of God's revelation. He is showing you what you would not have seen otherwise. He is revealing what was always hidden beneath the surface. He is teaching you how to walk with Him not just during the blessings, but through the battle. And do not fear the power of evil. Evil can intimidate, it can mock, it can parade itself as mighty, but in truth it is weak when compared to God. God's authority is not limited by the laws of man, by the numbers of your enemies, or by the influence of wicked people. One whisper from God can silence 1,000 voices. One move of His hand can undo decades of schemes. One decision from God can turn a whole battlefield into a place of peace. I tell you today, if you are surrounded by pressure, if you feel like darkness is closing in, that is not the sign of defeat. That is the sign that God is about to move. Because when the night grows darkest, the power of God shines the brightest. When your strength fails, His power is perfected. When your options run out, His deliverance begins. And when you have no one else to call, God is already present. Stronger than your fears, deeper than your wounds, and mightier than your enemies. You must begin to speak differently when you understand the protection of God. Stop saying, "I'm under attack," and start saying, "I'm under cover." Stop saying, "They're out to get me," and start declaring, "God is out in front of me." When you shift your language, you shift your atmosphere. Speak from the place of faith, not from the pit of fear. Evil may be loud, but God's authority is final. You don't need to announce your defense when your life becomes the proof of divine protection. Look back over your life. How many times should you have fallen? How many times did evil aim straight for your heart? How many betrayals were designed to break you beyond repair? And yet here you are, not only surviving, but wiser, stronger, deeper in faith. That wasn't luck, that was God, the unseen hand, the divine wall, the eternal shield. When others question how you made it, they didn't understand that when God protects, it defies logic. It interrupts cycles, it breaks patterns, it dismantles curses spoken over you. Let this settle deep in your soul. When you walk with God, you carry a protection that cannot be imitated. It is not in a charm, not in a ritual, not in a routine. It is in the unwavering personal connection between your soul and the one who created it. God knows your path before your feet ever touch the road. He clears dangers before you see the threat. And even when you walk through the valley shadowed by evil, you will not fall to it. Because God's hand does not shake, God's will does not fail, God's eye does not sleep. And what should you do in the face of evil? Not panic, not retaliate. You respond by standing firm. You respond by trusting more. You respond by walking closer with God, because the more you are protected, the more the enemy is provoked. And the more the enemy is provoked, the louder the attacks will become. But that's how you know the covering is real. Evil cannot touch you, so it tries to scare you. It cannot reach your spirit, so it tries to torment your thoughts. But God will silence even the storm inside your mind. You must remain faithful when you feel forgotten. You must remain obedient when others are manipulating. You must remain grounded in truth even when lies circle your name. Because God is watching, not just your enemies, but you. Will you trust Him while they mock you? Will you remain silent while they shout? Will you keep walking when the way is narrow and the night is long? Because if you will, if you hold the line, if you keep your soul anchored, God will lift you in the presence of those who hope to see you fall. And make no mistake, God will always have the final word. It may not come when you want it. It may not come through the people you expected, but it will come, and when it does, it will shut every mouth that rose against you. It will silence every voice that tried to destroy your peace. It will dismantle every plan that was birthed in wickedness, and it will establish you in a place of honor, not because of your might, but because of God's mercy. There is a holy fire that surrounds those who walk with God, a fire that no wicked heart can cross, no evil tongue can extinguish. That fire is not always visible to the eyes of the world, but it is real. It is fierce. It is divine. And it is the reason you are still standing when others thought you would fall. You may not feel it, but God has built an invisible wall around your soul. While enemies plotted and whispered and hoped for your downfall, God stood between you and destruction and said, "Not this one. This one is mine." God's protection is not always a shield from pain. It is strength in pain. It is clarity in confusion. It is calm in chaos. Some of you are asking, if God is protecting me, why am I still hurting? But what you must understand is this: pain is not always the mark of defeat. Sometimes it is the evidence of refinement. Sometimes God allows the pressure not to break you, but to purify you. He is not only protecting your body, He is guarding your purpose, defending your integrity, sealing your destiny with a holy fire that refines but does not consume. Evil cannot understand the covering of God. That is why they keep attacking and failing. That is why they try again and again, but their efforts unravel every time. They think it is luck. They think it is chance, but it is the quiet, sovereign hand of God rerouting every arrow before it hits, blocking every trap before it springs. And while they are scratching their heads in confusion, wondering why you are still rising, you must lift your hands in awe, giving all glory to the one who never took his eyes off you, not for a moment, not for a second. God does not just defend you in the physical, He defends your reputation, the evil that rises in whispers and slander, the lies woven with poison and envy. God will unravel every thread. There will come a time when those who misunderstood you will regret it, when those who believe false stories will be silenced by the undeniable truth of God's favor on your life. You don't have to defend yourself when God has already declared your innocence in the courts of heaven. You don't have to chase justice when God is the judge, the advocate, and the witness. And oh, how swiftly God acts when the time is right. One moment it seems like evil is flourishing. One moment it seems like the wicked walk proudly, but then suddenly God moves. Without warning, without announcement, He tears down the thrones of deception. He topples the proud. He exposes the hidden, and He lifts up the humble. That is why you must never envy the wicked. Their success is temporary. Their ease is short-lived. God is patient, but He is never late. His judgment is precise. His protection is complete. So many of you have been asking, how do I deal with people who secretly wish me harm? You deal with them by staying close to God, not by fighting in the flesh, not by speaking evil for evil. You let your silence be your strength. You let your peace be your protest. Because when you are under divine protection, your enemies don't need to be answered. They will be defeated by their own schemes. What they dig for you will become their own pit. What they speak against you will echo back into their own ears. God is not mocked. God is not confused. He weighs every intention. He sees every secret, and He always settles the score. You must walk through this life with the confidence of someone who is guarded by heaven. When you walk into a room, you're not alone. When you sleep at night, you're not unguarded. When you take a step forward into the unknown, God is already there. You don't have to fear the future. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. The same God who protected you from enemies last year is the same God who is watching over you today. And He will be the same God standing watch tomorrow. Your strength is not in your voice, it is in your submission. Your power is not in retaliation, it is in your surrender to God's wisdom. When you let God deal with evil people, He does it perfectly. No one gets away with wickedness in the presence of the Almighty. It may look like they've won, it may feel like they've risen, but every high place built on lies is already crumbling. God is setting things in motion right now that no human hand can stop. There is a great reversal coming, and those who stayed faithful will stand in places their enemies never imagined. And let me speak to the weary heart right now. You're tired, you're discouraged, you're wondering if the warfare will ever end. But let me tell you, it is because of your calling that the attacks are so persistent. It is because of your purpose that evil has tried to distract you, deceive you, and destroy you. But what evil underestimated was your foundation. What it didn't see was your connection to God. And that is why you're still here. That is why, despite everything, your spirit has not been crushed. Because you're not standing on sand, you are anchored in the unmovable presence of God. You must begin to see yourself not as a victim of attacks, but as a vessel of endurance. The protection of God is not always the absence of conflict. It is the presence of unshakable peace in the middle of the storm. It is the assurance that even if you walk through fire, you will not be burned. Even if you go through deep waters, you will not drown. Because the one who created the storm also controls it. The one who allows the trial also controls the outcome. And when He is your covering, evil cannot touch the promise written over your life. So stop shrinking in fear. Stop apologizing for the anointing on your life. Stop lowering your voice just to make others comfortable. You are not meant to blend in. You are chosen to stand out. And the reason you are targeted is because you carry something sacred. But be assured, what God has placed in you, no enemy can steal. What God has destined for you, no slander can cancel. What God has spoken over you, no lie can erase. There is a holy silence that comes when you know God is protecting you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to beg anyone to believe you. You don't have to fight for a seat at the table. God will make a table in the presence of those who denied you. And when He does, you won't need to say a word. Your life will speak. Your peace will declare it. Your stability will announce it. This one is guarded by God. And now I urge you, lift your eyes beyond what the enemy is doing and fix your gaze upon what God is building. For every attack you endured, for every plot you overcame, for every lie you survived, God was not just protecting you, He was preparing you. He was crafting a future that cannot be shaken by the noise of evil. He was forming a character in you that can carry the weight of destiny. Because when God protects you, He does not merely shield you from harm, He shapes you for honor. You were never meant to fight the battles that belong to God. That's why you feel drained trying to prove yourself. That's why your peace gets stolen every time you replay the betrayal in your mind. You were not designed to carry vengeance in your heart. You were created to carry purpose, and purpose flourishes not in the soil of revenge, but in the ground of surrender. When you let go of your right to strike back, God steps in with divine authority. And when God deals with evil, He leaves no unfinished business. So stop watering what God has already uprooted. Stop revisiting pain that God has already judged. Stop opening the door to people that God shut out for your protection. Some of you keep inviting evil back in the name of kindness, but kindness without discernment is not mercy, it is self-sabotage. When God removes someone from your life, don't run after them. When God reveals a heart that is filled with deceit, don't paint it with trust. Your life is not a playground for manipulation. You are a vessel of divine calling, and where there is calling, there must be separation from corruption. Let your trust in God be so complete that you no longer panic when others turn against you. Evil people thrive on reaction. They feed on fear. They grow stronger when you give them your attention. But when you remain calm, anchored in the knowledge that God is watching, that God is defending, that God is preserving your every step, they begin to wither. Because what they cannot touch frustrates them. And when they realize their weapons no longer penetrate your peace, they lose power. This is the silence of victory, when you no longer need to shout back, because the presence of God speaks louder than your words ever could. You are not called to bow to pressure. You are not called to compromise your soul to gain temporary peace. You are called to stand firm, rooted in the knowledge that God alone is your protector, your sustainer, your reward. Do not trade the approval of God for the acceptance of evil men. Their smiles are fleeting, their favor is conditional, but God's covering is eternal, and those who walk under His shadow are untouchable. Not because of status, not because of might, but because of divine purpose wrapped in obedience. There is power in stillness. Evil will scream, it will slander, it will threaten. But when you stay still, when you do not move from the path of righteousness, when you do not lower yourself to meet their level, God steps into the courtroom of life, and He does not argue, He acts. He doesn't plead your case with emotion, He declares truth with authority. And when truth is declared by God, even the strongest lie crumbles under its weight. Let me speak now to those who feel surrounded. You feel like the walls are closing in, like the enemy has gained ground, like your prayers are hitting silence. But silence from God does not mean absence of action. God is never idle. His silence often means He is preparing a victory so complete, so divine, that it must be birthed in stillness. Do not misinterpret His quietness as neglect. The hand of God moves deeper than the noise of this world, and often the most powerful miracles are born in silence. God's protection is not seasonal, it is sovereign. It is not given only in good times and withheld in struggle. It is constant. And that means even when you're walking through hardship, even when the sky is dark, even when friends disappear and enemies multiply, God is still there. You may not feel it, but your survival is the evidence. Every day you rise again is proof that evil has failed. Every breath you take is a reminder that the plot did not prosper. You're not barely making it, you're divinely preserved. You must not measure God's presence by the absence of problems. Measure His power by the endurance of your peace in the middle of the fire. That peace, that quiet confidence, that steady resilience is not your strength, it is God's. And He gives it freely to those who trust Him beyond understanding. To those who do not need to see the whole picture to know that the artist is still painting.